it's like, if I'm not rolling on the mats, this whole shit falls apart.
Goes away.
And I would really argue that no, like your students are not going to lose any respect for you. In fact, your students are probably talking about that fucking injury of yours and how they feel bad every time they attack your arm, or, you know, like.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. When coaches get injured, now this is a tough problem. If you run a gym, you own a gym, you coach, and then you've got an injury and it's like, oh, I can't stop rolling. My students need me. I can't stop teaching. I got to keep this whole thing going. But the injuries are getting worse. The niggles are piling up. I think that this is a real thing, a real serious thing that doesn't get talked about. So you might even see it looking at your own coach. You're like, man, coach seems a bit, you know, they still roll.
Busted up.
Busted. They're taped up. They're mummified, you know, like we know a few coaches like this, don't we?
Almost all of them.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I'm actually struggling to think of one that's not representative of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's what I've observed. And obviously for us, it comes at great frustration because a lot of our friends are coaches, run academies.
We want to help them.
We're like half decent at helping people on the mats like get better from injuries.
That's what we
avoid getting injured. And naturally they're our friends, and you're like, hey man, you open to some advice on that? And they're like, yeah, sure. But inside they're like, no.
Nah, never take it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've identified two things. The first thing is that, and almost every coach expresses this, like injuries are going to happen, right?
Of course.
You're going to get injured. And the unfortunate truth is that as you get further down the jiu-jitsu path, your injuries are going to become more abundant. Because you accumulate more damage.
The compounding.
Yeah, more wear and tear. So by the time, and you know, maybe this is less relevant these days because the ages are changing, but generally for us, it's like after purple belt, that's where you start to see like the brown belts are pretty beaten up, the black belts are really beaten up. They'll still f you up, but you watch them outside of training and they're like crippled.
Yeah. The amount of strapping tape.
Yeah, the limp and the shoulders.
The DP, all the things like, people will do whatever it takes to get them to the mat so they can perform their jiu-jitsu. But man, the quality of life outside of that is painful.
Yes. So, you know, so naturally by the time you're a coach, and here's the other thing with coaching, like you often have to roll a lot. And you're often rolling just because you need to participate in the class. Maybe you got to even up the numbers or something. But, I think, you know, and this is kind of off to the side, but one of the tough things about being a coach is that you have to jump in and roll sometimes and you haven't been warming up.
No.
You've been standing around instructing the class and then it's like you got to jump in and do some...
You're not physically prepped.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's really not an ideal situation, right, for your body. But in any case, all these coaches I'm talking about have expressed, but I have to keep rolling. I can't take time off. Because, you know, we go and visit a place and, you know, have some rolls, we have a good time. And the coach's like, hey, man, I got a thing. I got this shoulder thing. Can you help me with that? And usually with any kind of issue that's like pretty chronic, i.e. has been going on for a long time and is giving them ongoing pain or discomfort, usually it's going to be like, hey, you want to start to do this kind of rehab strength stuff and you're probably going to want to back off jits for a period of time just so that you can get ahead of this thing. Yeah. And coach is always like, man, I can't stop rolling. And there's this belief there that if they stop rolling, that the gym is going to fall apart.
But do you think also there might be a little bit of shame wrapped up in that? Like a fallibility and like, oh, I'm the coach, but I've got to be strong for my people.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but then I like, if I then think, well, what happens if you ruptured your ACL? If you ruptured your ACL, you're out, you're in a knee brace, and probably, and I was not coaching jiu-jitsu, but I was coaching in the gym.
Of course.
When that happened to me, I'm like, okay, I got no option now. So I just got to find a way to run a class where I'm not demonstrating everything myself.
So do you think it's just that the injuries are not bad enough that it just wipes them out? So they just keep finding ways to work around.
Yeah, because it's easier to just roll and to just get in there than it is to go, to sit back and go, oh, how do I find a way around this?
People say, what's your secret, JT? Why are your muscles so pumped? Why are you so strong on the mats? Is it the secret sauce? No, it's not. It's hydration, my friends. I every day am using Sodi. SODII. I use it in the morning first thing, usually when I have my creatine, and I also have it before training. I'll dilute a sachet into about 500, 600 mils of water, and it just keeps me going. I don't get headaches, I don't get cramps, and I don't get tired as quickly. So this is the sachet version. They also have tubs, which is really good too. And they have awesome flavors. This is my favorite, which is salty grapefruit. They have their citrus, they've got pineapple. They've got so many good flavors. It's definitely worth checking out. So you, my friends, if you would like to be better hydrated, feel pumped, feel strong, get on the real magic sauce, which is SODI. You can get a 15% discount when you use discount code Bulletproof15, sodi.com.au. So do you think it is warranted, or do you think it's valid, this position of, well, if I don't roll, then my academy goes away, all my students will go away, they won't respect me, or what unpack that a little bit for me. What do you think is behind that thinking?
So I definitely think it's valid, right? Like, I understand where that comes from, right? And if you are running a small gym, and you know, like I can identify this, say, with Adam when he started Vantage.
Sure.
Was like him and I were the only kind of higher belts there. And so, you know, if he wasn't going to be there, like, you know, whatever, he had to babysit one night, he can't be there, he knows I'm coming in. He's like, Joey, I'm not coming in tonight. I'm really sorry, because I know we normally get the hard rounds. That's important because he knows that without him there, my training experience is not going to be what it usually is.
Right.
Not a problem now because there's a bunch of killers there.
Sure.
But I know that in those early stages, the coach is looking out for every individual, and it's like sometimes like the coach is pivotal in making sure that those couple of people have a good session.
The leadership.
Yeah, so I do think that's valid, but I think that it's also
short term.
I think it's short term, and I think it's a bit. I think that you're seeing your business as being really fragile.
Right.
Really fragile in the sense that, I've got someone who's pretty good coming in on Wednesday nights, but I'm all beat up, but I have to roll with them, otherwise they're going to cancel their membership. They are not going to cancel their membership. Like if you said to those few really good people, hey dudes, I'm sorry, I got to take the next few weeks off. I'm still going to be there, but I can't roll because I've just got to let this thing, like they're going to understand that.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I would say if they didn't understand, if they're like, no, if I have a week here where I'm not rolling with you, I'm quitting. You're like, well,
you suck.
It was probably going to fall apart at some point anyway.
Yeah. I guess the only thing is, because jiu-jitsu does hit you with all these things in a chronic way, are you then just always never rolling because you're always got something, right? Like there is a value. This is the double-edged sword of like the mental toughness of jiu-jitsu folks. They're willing to be in so much pain and so much, you know, because eating a degree of discomfort is integral to you getting good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That you eat that crossface so you can retain your guard, and then you go through pain and discomfort in the name of improving at jiu-jitsu, but then people apply that same mentality to injuries, not knowing that little bit of pain in your knee turns into a lot of pain in your knee, turns into thousands of dollars worth of surgery and disablement, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But if we think about the nature of jiu-jitsu, you do have to, like, you know, I can't remember which clip it was. Maybe it was Josh Hinger or someone. They went for a takedown and the person kicked, and it just, their finger was sideways, and they're like, ah. Their finger was pointing like that. Yeah. And then they just went, whack.
Yeah.
And just knocked it back in. They're like, all right, good to go. Let's keep going, right? You need that. You have to have a degree of that to be be a black belt.
Yeah.
You need a degree of toughness. At what point does that, is injury not part of jiu-jitsu? Like at what, do you ever get
where
to
do you draw the line?
Yeah. Where can you say, I have to take care of this right now versus I need to just grit and bear it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't know. I think at the end of it,
Come on,
right?
Joe.
Yeah,
give us all the answers.
Yeah, right? Like it's hard to say. It's a personal thing. But I would say I guess if it's affecting your life day to day, like because of pain and discomfort, okay, it's potentially like we need to do something about this. If it is affecting your ability to improve on the mats, like if it's like every time I roll, my shoulder gets worse, if anyone mounts me now, I just have to tap because my shoulders are Okay, that's a problem, right? So I don't know, but they're just a couple of questions. I'm sure we could come up with more, but that might indicate, all right, you've now crossed the threshold where you're now not being tough.
Yeah.
You're not practicing toughness. You're just being an idiot.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And when you meet a coach and they're like, hey, I've got this chronic thing and it's really killing me, man. It's so sore. We know what the end of that, like if they just keep doing what they're doing, it doesn't equal you getting any better and getting through this and being the awesome leader of your academy that you want to be. It ends up, I don't know, you have to take 6 months off to get a shoulder surgery, or you have to stop coaching altogether, or like it only ends badly. So it's like, okay, you got to eat shit for a period of time so that you can continue on with this journey and be the tough jiu-jitsu player that you want to be.
Yeah.
You know?
To continue. And I'm excited.
Why's that?
We have an apparel sponsor, Parry Athletic. Such good gear, and it's incredible. I've been enjoying it.
Bro, George came through, messaged us on the Instagram, said he's been following our program for ages. He's getting stronger and more mobile, and he's got this cool gear company called Parry, and he wants to send us some stuff.
And he told me that his mission was to create the best pair of training shorts ever.
Yeah, he wanted something that he could lift and roll in, and that could accommodate thick, muscular thighs and hips.
And that suits us.
Speaks to us.
Also, what I like is I love the colorful design. It actually looks really cool.
I am the most colorful dude on the mats these days, hands down.
Yeah, you get that kind of expression feel. A lot of other jiu-jitsu gear is kind of a bit boring.
Yeah, it's all like grays and blacks and shit. This stuff is the color and the vibrancy.
It makes you stand out. And I think the thing that I've loved about it is just it feels good. It feels good. It looks good. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can get a discount when you go to checkout. If you go to parryathletics.com, when you go to checkout, put in the code Bulletproof20 and you get 20% off. Oh, yeah. Actually, I was going to say, like, this reminds me of, like, I read a book, I think maybe it was Atel Gawand, maybe.
On being mortal?
Yeah, dude. It's pretty grim. It talks about your health span, your lifespan and your health span. And depending on how healthy you are, you might spend a long period of your life suffering in illness and demise. And the mistake that we make is when we go, oh, I'll get surgery. That will put me back to where I was. Almost never, especially as you get older. Generally, you get the surgery. So if we go, this is where you were when you got injured, and then surgery brings you back down here. And when you come back up, it doesn't mean you were back where you were. It's not as simple as, can you replace my elbow with a bionic elbow and now my elbow is better?
Yeah.
No, we're not at that stage, my friends. And what he was saying is it's a diminishing return. Every surgery you have, every major like cardiac arrest you have, you're getting lower and lower and lower, and you're never coming back up to health of where you were. So a lot of people have this mechanized, and we've used this analogy before of like a car and, you know, a flat tire, but it's not like you can just replace the air filter. Like basically, if you have a major structural issue, the joint is not the same thereafter.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's 95%, you've still lost that 5%, and that has carry over to other parts of your body. So this idea of just neglecting your body up until the point you have to replace or fix part of your body, it's a bit of a a slope of decline, not improvement.
Yeah.
And prevention, you know, we all know like prevention is definitely the better way to approach it.
But yeah, so I just think I think that generally like a lot of coaches, that's a real scarcity mindset. It's like, if I'm not rolling on the mats, this whole shit falls apart.
Goes away.
And I would really argue that no, like your students are not going to lose any respect for you. In fact, your students are probably talking about that injury of yours and how they feel bad every time they attack your arm, or, you know, like, and they're probably going to be like, oh, it's good that so-and-so's taken some time off finally. Like, you know,
because it sets the example for the academy, right?
Yeah. And I think this brings us to the second point, which is that like these coaches are actually really poor role models for injury management to their students.
Yeah.
Like they're showing their students the worst way. They're just showing their students you should ignore your injuries and roll anyway. Yeah. And like, yeah, it's great. Mental toughness. Awesome. Your students are probably like statistically not going to put up with as much pain and discomfort in regular life as you do. And so they're going to quit. and they're going to stop paying a membership when they quit. So you actually there, like if you want to be that leader, like show them the good way to do it so that they understand, oh, okay, if I'm really busted up, it's okay to take 3, 4, 6 weeks off, do the rehab piece. Oh, cool. Yeah, the gym's really like we got a culture of rehabbing, et cetera. And then they're back on the mats and then they're enjoying the journey again.
Yeah, a system of path to restoration or repair.
Yeah.
So like the amount of people I talk to who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who don't have health insurance is crazy. Now, I messed around.
It's Americans?
No, it just...
Even Aussies?
Anyone. Because, I mean, in my 20s when I was doing Taekwondo, I did get a bunch of injuries. And when I was pretty much faced with knee surgery, that's when I was like, I need to get up on some health insurance. Also here in Australia, it's way cheaper than America. So I understand it's a much more complex thing.
We're more fortunate in that regard.
With our US cousins. So, but reason why I say this is if you're an instructor and you have a physio and you have a routine for looking after your body, it's like having kids. Kids don't give a shit about what you say. They look at what you do. They're little replicating machines. If they see that you're like, I'm all banged up, better have another beer. They're just like, oh, well, that's what you do, right? And this isn't to make any coach that's injured feel bad if you're listening to this, but it's difficult to tell someone to do something if you are not doing it yourself and if you don't know what that is. Like I know for sure I've learned so much from my injuries and having to go through the process of rehab that I can tell someone, hey man, that injury you want to stay away from that because that took forever to come back from. Now, obviously everyone heals differently, but having a system to deal with it, which is like having health insurance.
We all pretty much heal. Like we're pretty much the same there, right? Like in terms of the healing part, like it's pretty like, if you've been through the thing and you can say to someone, man, I had that. And you can speak from experience, like that is so powerful.
Yeah.
For the shoot. Yeah. Like, and so I think you say, dude, I had that. I didn't do it right. Don't make the same mistake I did. Go see our physio, this person, do some stuff. Here's a couple of exercises I know are really good. See what the physio thinks. You can do it here. Like you give them that. Oh, thanks coach. You're a legend.
Yeah. It's a relief.
Yeah. But I would say most coaches, because they feel inept in that conversation, like they actually don't know what to say. They don't have a physio for the team.
They don't have a system.
They've not really been very good at looking after themselves. So when the student says that, the coach is like, yeah, that sucks, eh? Hey, but it just train around it. Try not to use that arm so much. Like, and that's that lens. Just show up. Just come back. Just keep coming.
Yeah.
And it's like the student's like, all right, I'll take that advice. And then the student is like, no, this is.
It is a short-term approach, right?
Yeah, and it's the coach is trying to protect the relationship in the business, but in doing so, they're destroying the relationship in the business. You know?
Yeah, it's really tough. I guess the thing is you don't have to get a really terrible injury to have these things in place. In the same way, if you have a gym and you're sick of cleaning the mats every day or whatever, you can get a cleaner in. It's very similar. I believe this is something.
They're called white belts.
Yeah, those guys. Well, I mean, sometimes it's the senior belts too, depending on the gym. But you could just find out, I'll just find a physio in the area and talk to them and be like, are they cool? Are they not cool? So that way you've got someone to refer to. And in the same way, you make a little corner where people can come and do rehab. I think this turning a blind eye, like, you never get injured when you do jiu-jitsu. It's just a joke. You're like, nah, come in. You know,
like someone ruptures their like catastrophic knee thing. Coach is like, I'll get an ice pack.
Exactly, right? We're trying to do whatever we can, but we already know, like, we're not innocent to it. We're eyes wide open. You can come in and do your rehab here and still make the habit of coming to the gym.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great step. If every gym had a little area.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a gym.
Couple bands, pull-up bar.
Yeah, like
couple
come
weights.
in, hang out, chat with the team, see the technique, do your bit of rehab.
Keep the consistency of showing up here at 5:30 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Keep the connection. And now that might sound like a luxury because obviously many gyms just have a mat. But if you can just carve out like a couple of square meters for the wounded warriors to do their thing, I believe that that's going to go a long way to keeping people as members compared to just kind of ignoring it.
Absolutely. And especially, like, imagine you got a relationship with a physio and you tell the physio that, hey, I'm going to be sending my members to you. What I would like you to do is to advise that they come and do their rehab at the times when they would normally train jiu-jitsu. Physio's like, great, I can do that. Yeah. And so when the physio says then, hey man, here's your little rehab program. Yep. What days you train? Okay, cool. I want you to do this at those sessions. Yeah. It's like, that's a really easy, simple solution. Everyone stays in the game. It's mad.
Yeah. It's good for the physio because they know that they've got a surefire line of clients forever.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they've got a connection to a jiu-jitsu gym. But also, they're not just saying to the jiu-jitsu folks, oh, just quit that weird BJJ thing you do.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense. People aren't going to do that. So, yeah, I think taking that step, which even if you have no idea about any of this stuff, you're hearing this and you have a gym, taking that one proactive step is going to make a huge difference to people's experience and them staying connected to the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Injuries are a part of the game. If you're leading a jiu-jitsu community, you need to know just as much about injuries as you do about the jiu-jitsu techniques you're teaching.
Yes, sir.
And you are experiencing the injuries because we all do. So tell that story and lead that part of the story too, you know, and be like, cool, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm managing it. Yeah. You know, because people will copy your behavior.
Definitely. And look, if you're a jiu-jitsu coach out there and you don't know any physios and you're not sure, you can always reach out to us. We know a bunch of people. We might be able to connect you. Absolutely. And just off the back of that, you know, we do whatever we can to help. So if it's not in our lane to help you, like you're not at that stage where we can help you with your process of getting back to the mat, we can help connect you with somebody. You know, we can kind of point you in the right direction, give you some resources, and that way you're not kind of ignoring it and then 6 months later you have to get surgery. Maybe it's something preventable.
That's right.
But we appreciate you folks, and what we want to quickly say is that when one good turn deserves another. And so when someone does give you that sweet connect, whether it's like a physio, a mechanic, maybe it's like a great
podcast recommendation.
Yeah, man, you know, something sweet, boom. You're like, man, I want to pay them back. And we would greatly appreciate if you guys would not only follow and subscribe, but give us a rating. If you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever you happen to listen to this, jump in and give us a 5-star rating because it helps us so much in connecting with more good people like yourself. That would be the little sweet boom. Give us the little knuckle bump that helps us. Please do it. We appreciate y'all.
What's up?